Listen to the Vibes, hosted by Coyote Night. Listen in for some positivity and good times. The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes broadcast network. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I have here Mr. David Espinosa and Mr. Robert Crow. They work in movies. And David, I actually call him my friend now. I don't know if he calls me friend, but David's an awesome guy.
Just don't throw rocks.
Don't throw rocks. But today we're going to first get to know Mr. Crow here and let him talk about himself a little bit. And then him and David are going to talk about the projects they've been working on. And so, Robert, how are you today, sir?
I'm wonderful. I'm doing great. Just got off a bike ride, so I got a little exercise in this morning.
Man, that must be nice. I wished I could still ride a bike.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But anyway, let's hear about you, like where you grew up and
Right.
a little bit of your history, and go ahead.
Sure. Well, I grew up in San Jose, California. My parents were both the working type. My dad actually worked at a tile company where they actually made tile, and then later on in his career, he became a tile salesman. And my mom, she worked at the canneries in San Jose, depending on what season it was, determined which cannery she was working at, whether it was Contadina or Del Monte. And then they also, both of them worked, labored out in the fields. And I did as a little kid with them, with picking prunes and apricots and cutting apricots. So I kind of grew up with them doing that kind of stuff. And then grew up on the east side of San Jose. And I was real fortunate to every school I went to, from grammar school through junior college, it was a brand new school. And it just kind of worked out that way because I grew up as that part of San Jose was growing up. And so it was I got kind of spoiled in that sense as far as going to new schools all the time, and the teachers were excited to be there. And so really had a great time growing up in San Jose. And,
Awesome.
Yeah, it really was a good time there.
So what do you do in your spare time?
Well, in my spare time, I have children and grandchildren, so I spend a lot of time with my grandkids doing stuff with them. My oldest granddaughter is 11, and I got her in a little golf program here close to home. And so during the pandemic, her and I would play golf on Tuesdays, and then my wife would come along on Wednesdays. So we actually got some golf in throughout the pandemic here. And so that was kind of good. That was kind of a special for us and for her, something to look back on the pandemic year, right? The summer of the pandemic year. And so that was a lot of fun. And of course I like to exercise and, that type of stuff. But I just enjoy spending time with the family.
Oh, and tell us a little bit about your acting career.
My acting career, I came down from San Jose to the Los Angeles area back in '78. That's how long ago it was. The same time David came down. We came down at the same time. We had graduated from the same junior college and came down as friends. And we actually started our academically, we started studying drama at the same time. First acting class together, first movement class together, first play together. And when we came down here, we went to different schools, and I was fortunate enough after I went to a couple of different colleges, never finished, unfortunately. It's one of the things you look back on, man, I wish I'd have taken care of that. But I got an opportunity from a friend of mine called me one day, and he goes, "Hey, South Coast Repertory. It's a regional theater down here in Costa Mesa, California." And at that time, they were maybe 10 years old. I don't know. Right now they're huge. And he said, "Hey, they're holding auditions, for a professional acting training program, and they're giving away scholarships. We should go." And I said, "All right." So I went there with my friend. We auditioned, and we both got a scholarship, and we studied intensively for just the summer. It was about 8 weeks. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for about 8 weeks. And out of that, a select group of us were chosen to audition for their touring show, and I was one of them, and along with my friend, and there was two other students from Long Beach State, which is where we were at the time, that came along, and we all got cast in this 5-character traveling show. And so we would travel during the day and go to schools, and we had a station wagon and a trailer with our set, and we travel around all these schools in LA County and Orange County. And then at night, we would get the little small parts on the main stage. So we were acting night and day, and that was my start. That's how I got started, and it was just a blast. It was just I couldn't believe it. You know, it was like, wow. You know, so it was really something.
So has it kind of always been your dream to act?
No, it hasn't. I was more of an athlete. You know, when I grew up, I wanted to be a baseball player. So it was always about sports for me. And I remember in junior college one day, I hadn't decided. I was in the middle of junior college when I decided I'm going to be an actor, and it was kind of a flippant thing. Like I always worked nights at a grocery store while I was in school, so I was always asleep in my classes. Just couldn't handle it. And so I was thinking I was going to get into radio and television. I don't know why. Maybe a sportscaster or something like that. I think that's where I was thinking. Well, I had flunked this meteorology course, and I'm like, I am not taking that again. I'm going to be an actor. And so I just switched that quick and started taking acting classes, and that was it. And then, of course, I fell in love with it. You know, just pretending I was someone else was kind of the thing. You know, this wasn't me. I'm pretending to be someone else, and I found a lot of joy in that, and the camaraderie and doing the play, and also the process of putting together a play. I really like that process of, you know, you might rehearse for 3 to 4 weeks before you ever perform in front of an audience, and I kind of like that process.
Well, see, I would like to pretend I'm a podcaster, so you know we ought to hit it off pretty good.
All right, there you go. Looks like you're doing well.
So, David, give us a little quick rundown about you.
Well, simply stated, I'm an actor, a writer. I direct. I've had the opportunity of doing stage work, television work, films. But ironically, some of my best joys were back when I was doing simple things with Robert. When I first met him, we met in college, and as he already stated, our first acting class together, and we started taking a mime course from this guy named Jeff Risk. He was a graduate from Marcel's School in France, and Robert and I were pretty athletic at the time, a lot thinner, younger, and we were doing mime. We started doing mime and putting little skits together, and had a blast. And then we both went down to Los Angeles, went to different schools, but in the summer we still hung out together and did street theater, and we were working out in Westwood and out on the beach, and just having a hell of a good time doing this stuff. We took it serious, but didn't take it serious. So by that, I mean, we seriously put forth our efforts and studied and planned, but whatever happened, happened. If nothing happened, we didn't take it on the chin. It was, okay, we'll do it next week, see what happens. So, we don't take ourselves serious. And I've been like Robert ever since, just digging on doing this. Myself, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be an actor. Consequently, I've had to act and pretend to do other stuff. Like a janitor, a bus boy, a caretaker. I mean, God, I've an array of different things I've done. But fortunately, after all of the various things, I ended up coming full circle back. And when I met Craig, my partner, well, by the way, Robert Crow is also a partner to CRA, which I'm so proud of and happy to have him be part of our team.
Thank you.
But when I met Craig and we started doing The Evil Down the Street, we were shooting it. I got a hold of Robert and said, hey, man, I'm going to be in Southern California. I'm shooting this film. Why don't you come on by the set, see what we're up to? he showed up on set and just kind of hung around. And afterwards, he said, "Hey, man, I like what you guys are doing. You seem to have a plan." And next thing I know, he's part of CRA. We're doing films. He was in the Crumbs. He has one of the main supporting roles. He plays Sheriff Martin. He is also in Demon Fighter. He plays also one of the main supporting role in that, which is he plays Hank. So we're excited to have Robert. He's a very multifaceted actor. He has a lot of skill sets, a lot of background, brings a lot to it. So it's easy to work with him. And for me as a director, I can't tell you how excited I am about, because it was something him and I talked about. Hey, one day we'll make a film. We'll make our own movies. Yeah, one day, one day. Well, that day is here.
Yeah.
And we're making movies. And that's the exciting thing for me, to be able to do that with my partner, Robert.
Absolutely.
Of course, Craig, etc. But for me, it's like, wow, here we are. You know, not only did I live to see marijuana get legalized, but I'm making movies with my good buddy.
It's and y'all worked with John Asuna on Demon Fighter. What was it like watching him and his moves? Because just the little bit that I got to see interviewing him was freaking amazing.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
Robert had a lot of scenes with him. Why don't you tell them, Robert, what it was working with the guy?
Oh, he's great to work with, man. He's so low key, you know, as masters are. You know, when you know, I've met a couple of martial arts masters, and they are just they're just wonderful people. They just have a sense of confidence, just standing there, just their presence. And he's just so kind and so giving, and just a joy to work with. Really a joy to work with. And his fight scenes and watching the way he moves is just amazing. It makes you want to try and do something, but I know better.
He choreographed the fight scenes as well, with the younger versions of himself, because there's a retell section to the story, and we had fight scenes in it. He staged those as well as doing his own. This one in particular that he did, which was in the present tense of the film, was done at night with these two guys out on the street on pavement in a parking lot, and they were going full on, I mean, flying through the air, fall on flips, the whole 9 yards, what you really see in a fight. And passerbys were concerned, thinking that it was a real fight. This one guy watching it from his office said, because it was being taped on his security, he didn't know why his lights kept going off and on in his security. And he came to it. By the way, it was a marijuana distribution ship, a little pharmacy there.
Do I see a reoccurring pattern here?
There's a pattern here. I noticed that too. But anyway, this guy says that he sees this little guy handling these two big guys. And of course, he's referring to John. The choreography was so tight that you could not tell. When we shot it Kung Fu, Hong Kong style, full on. Wasn't none of this stop, take a punch, go back, get a no. I'll cut and paste. No, I like fluidity in the fight scenes. So we use multiple cameras and we shoot from multiple angles, and we want to get it in the first one. You don't want to have your fighters do that scene 3, 4, 5 times all night long to get one punch, 2 or 3 kicks. Nah, shoot it fluid, use multiple cameras, and then we'll put it together, and it looks really clean. John's a pleasure to work with, but at the same time, you're only as good as the people you work around with, and that's so important to understand in our business. It's not about just one person. You can have a great person, but what made John's character work was, and coming from behind the camera, watching as it's taking place, was the camaraderie that the characters developed through it between Hank and Father Michael, which was Robert's character and John's character. So watching how that unfolded, how it moved. That's what was fun for me watching these two. And Robert's, you know, a veteran actor. So with John, this was the first lead he's ever had that he's had multiple lines like this. John's an action actor for the most part, but when I auditioned him, he could take direction well. He could reach the emotional levels that needed to be reached authentically. So I knew I could work with him. And I knew that if he had the right supporting cast, people like Robert, people like Jeannie Young, Jeff Hatch, the other characters around him, it would definitely work. And it did. So yeah, again, it gets back to who you're working with, you know. So yeah.
Was that Mrs. Espinosa I seen in the background a minute ago?
Yes, it was. She filters around every now and again. My wife's a busy lady. No matter what I'm doing, if she has something to do, she's going to take care of it. And thank God for that. Let me tell you, because I'd be a mess otherwise.
And tell her I said hi.
I'll tell you, give her your best.
So Robert, let's go back to you. I was reading your bio, and man, you have quite a bit of credits to your name. You want to talk about some of the stuff you've done in the past?
Sure. I had mentioned I started at South Coast Repertory, a theater, and then from there, I went and worked at the Old Globe Theater down in San Diego. That was during the Olympic year, so that was back in '84, and I played this character, Hector, and The Anger of Achilles was the name of the play, and it was a lot of fun. We had like leather armor and helmets, and you know, and that was another touring show, and so that was a lot of fun. And then from there, right around the mid '80s, I started pursuing television, and I my very first television show was a show called The New Love American Style. So I don't know if you remember, but way back
Love American Style.
And they came back for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and it was my first television role, and it was just I played like a locksmith, where this guy gets locked in a room and I got to come and get him out, and it was kind of a little comedy thing, and back then that famous line from Clint Eastwood, "Go ahead, make my day."
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a line for me like that, where the guy says something clever, and I didn't say "make my day." Oh, go ahead, cheer me up. And the guy was, so I played the goofball. But after that, after I started doing a little bit of television, I started getting into commercials. Probably the biggest commercial I ever did was way back in the mid '90s when Michael Jordan was doing the Gatorade commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to be like Mike. I got to be in one of those commercials. That was a lucrative commercial for me, so that was awesome. And then I started doing some episodic work where, as I mentioned in my bio, old shows like LA Law and 30 Something. I did some movies of the week, and I just kind of got into that and had some recurring roles. Probably the most recognizable for kids back then was a show called The Journey of Alan Strange, which was on Nickelodeon, and I was on that show for a few seasons, and it was kind of cool for my kids. It was right at the time that they were in grammar school, so their friends used to watch that show, and so it was kind of an exciting time for them. And so I did a lot of that, and then I got a little sidetracked. As with a lot of actors, you're always looking for that next job to help support your acting habit. And I got introduced to the spokesperson world. I had done some work with this guy, and he goes, "Hey, I have this job that you'd be really good at." And I go, "Oh, what is it?" He goes, "Well, I work at the auto shows. I'm a spokesman for Infinity Cars." And I said, "Oh, all right." He goes, "You should come check it out." So I did. And I go, "Oh, that looks like that could be good. You make some good money and you travel the country." So I did it. Well, what happened was 15 years later, I did that for 15 years, and gradually it took me away from acting because I was on the road. So 6 months out of the year, I was on the road, and my agents start to get upset. And so I said, "Well, I'll just do this." And that was it. And then I stopped that about 5 years ago and said, "Hey, I'm done traveling." Had a great time traveling, and I'm done. Got into real estate. And a couple of years ago, David calls me and says, "Hey, come over to the set." I went over there, and here we are a few years later, 2 or 3 movies in. And so I thank David and Craig all the time for bringing me back into the business. I'm really having a great time.
And you get to be part of the whole company. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really is. That's one of those things where it's like, I'd love to be a producer. I'd love, you just say it, but these guys have invited me in, so we're actually making it happen. So it's really an awesome feeling. Happy to be back into the business.
Yeah, I got to see The Evil Down the Street, and then all of a sudden I hear the Crumbs and Demon Fighter and all. I'm like, okay, I've got to check these out. So you got to tell me about y'all's projects going on right now and what's going to be released here pretty soon.
Well, what we have going on right now, like I said, the Demon Fighter. The Crumbs is set for distribution to our distributors here within this next week. We're finally happy to announce that. The screener links will be up. The trailers are out. The sizzle trailers, etc., have already been completed, and that's ready for market. Demon Fighter is beginning to work on that. The post production aspects to it, of course. We feel real good about that, especially about the people who will be doing the post work on it. And that'll be out sooner than later. It should be out by the beginning of next year, 2021. We just currently finished a script called Love and Quarantine. Yeah.
I can relate.
Amen. Can't we all? It's a comedy, hopefully. Okay. We'll see. Yeah. But we like it. Craig and I like it. We're finalizing, and I will be getting that out to a couple of people for a read. And then we're looking to shoot that before this year's up. We're excited about that. And we have another script in the hopper, which has already started the process of, and that's called The Preacher. And that one will involve, again, Father Michael and his cohort, Hank. They will be called back to the job to deal with some, although well-intended, very bad-doing people. We'll leave it at that. So we're excited. We're moving forward. We're going to keep doing these until we get too old to see or we die, one or the other. And we're already, not that we're spring chickens, but we got a lot of spring in our chicken still. We're going to see how much more we can get out of it. I don't know. That's the cool thing about this business. Not many professions are like this. You can do it till you fall out. Look at Red Fox, who I happen to love. One of my favorite. I don't care what anybody says. You got to watch Sanford and Son. He's so good, even the reruns.
Yeah,
he's awesome. He's just awesome. He died on set.
Did he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, what better way to go,
set.
Right?
The big one finally came. You know what I mean?
I'm coming to join you, Elizabeth.
That's it. That's it. And it came. But God bless him, He did what he loved. And something interesting about Red Fox, this is an aside note, on the legal end, there's law that has resulted, that has become law under Red Fox as a result of him suing the industry for royalties and whatnot way back when. He is the person that actually set contracts straight for the industry, the music industry. Red Fox's lawsuits, because they were ripping him off. He's a smart man. He was a very smart man. Like, Ray Charles, another very, very smart man. Knew his stuff, knew how to take care of himself, Not to get off into music, but,
hey, that's
on the other
okay.
hand, music is so much a part of what we do. We just finished up with the Crumbs, and the music was the last things, it's like the icing onto it. A cake, I don't care what kind of cake it is. It's just a bunch of dough, and it's been cooked up, and it's sweet bread, and it's sitting there piled. Now the frosting changes it. It's the frosting. It's the little stuff, So we're very excited about the music score to the Crumbs. So I tell people all the time, I said, you know, if you've ever watched the old version of Dracula, the first version, when he comes down the stairwell, you know, without the music, it's just some old guy walking down the stairwell. As soon as you put the music in there, we got this creepy old guy walking down the stairwell. So music is everything. The original Frankenstein monster, okay, with Boris Karloff.
Yes.
The scene where he meets the little girl for the first time out by the little creek there, and she brings the flowers. If you ever get a chance, pay attention to the music and what's happening there and the innocence of his childness. You know, that monster, that was so important. They were going to take that scene out originally, and it was insisted upon because it contrasts the monster, his innocence. The monster wasn't a monster. It was the behavior that was inflicted upon him. If you watch the original movie, when the monster first comes up, he's just curious. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know who he is or what's happening. And it's how he's beaten by Igor and tortured by Igor that makes it that way, because Dr. Frankenstein loves him. He created him. It's a God-child type of a relationship. And then we see it again when he meets the little girl and she shows him love. And she shows him the flowers and she's not afraid of him. And he looks at her with the same loving expression and the flower, and he throws it in. But pay attention to the music. The music sets the tone. You don't know anything ugly is going to happen. And then he picks her up and he gets afraid and the music changes. So, you know, music is so important to our business. But again, as I've always said, mise en scene and the concept of mise en scene as it applies to what we do is all encompassing. It's not just one aspect. It's the makeup, it's the costumes, it's the decor, it's the setting, it's the lighting, it's the acting, it's the camera angle. It's everything that's going on. And then you put all of that and add more behind it. The people supporting it, the producers, the people who are putting together the catering for you, crafty services, the all-important AM coffee. Oh my gosh. Do we love crafty or what?
Oh, yeah.
Amen to them. Yeah. Yeah. Robert. Amen. You can tell about the horror stories where crafty's not there, right?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. 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 I've been on some sets where it was incredible. But yeah, it's an all-encompassing thing. And that's really why I feel so good about working with Robert, because that's what we were trained in. That's our background. It's not one person. No matter how smart you think you are, you can't do it by yourself.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you can't. You know?
Exactly.
It's just ridiculous to think. And then after you've done all that, guess what? Now we need an audience. So we're still dependent. We need an audience. And to get to the audience, we need marketing. And to get marketing, we need a distribution. So we need a distributor. The components associated with putting together a film, from the creating of the script to the post-production development of the process of the shooting, to the post-production or pre-production, pardon me here, pre-production to shooting, then the shooting, then the post-production afterwards, editing, putting everything together, and then all the marketing and preparing all the deliverables for the distributors, all the trailers, the sizzlers, the posters, all the artwork, and the links to it, getting all that to them. And then they broker a deal for you with these platforms. But getting it to that point where it's ready for marketing, that's what you want to achieve prior to knocking on these distributors' doors. So when you do knock on their door, you go, hey, I have a completed project. Here it is. Here's a link. Take a look at it. Poster work, everything's done. All deliverables are ready to go. They're like, okay, because that's money for them. Remember, who needs who? We need the broker, but do we? Well, if we're big enough, like MGM or Warner Brothers or some of these, you know, other companies, Golden, you know, they don't need a broker. They are the broker. They do their own distribution.
I would love to be in the process of doing something like that. I mean, I'm on a very small scale with what I do, but I get what you're talking about, because from the interviews to the editing and then the advertising of everything and getting it out there. I mean, it's quite of a process for me, and I just can't imagine on the scale that y'all are on what kind of process that is.
You know what? It's not it's the same process. It truly is. Understand this. If you get together with yourself, set your project down on paper in a business plan format. Who are you? What are you going to do? Where are you going to do it? Why are you going to do it? When you're going to do it? And how are you going to do it? And in simple statements, not exceeding a paragraph or two per area, answer that question. Answer those questions. And then just start putting that process in order and implementing it. What's the first thing needs to be done? With us, it's writing of the script. With you, it's setting up the interviews.
True.
See, that's your content. That's your content. So understanding that process right there, and what's cool for us is that we have so many different people. Like I'm getting ready to send a script to Robert for his critique. So after I look at something, I may think it's great, but that don't mean crap. Then I get it to somebody, and Robert calls me back, goes, I know what you're trying to say, but what does this mean?
Give them hell, Robert. Give them hell.
Well, you got to have that objectivity. You got to have that in this business. You can't take it on the chin.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something to be good, and like I've said before, Robert, I won't throw Robert under the bus with us, but we're too old already to care about all that. My ego's out of here. I need to get things done. I can't get them done if I have my ego in front of me all the time.
Yeah. Well, you think about it when it comes to critique and people tell you this needs to be changed, you could do this better. That just makes you a better person all the way around. Because, I do paranormal investigating, as you know, on the side. And those people that are very critical of the things that we do makes me want to work that much harder and be that much better of an investigator. I welcome anybody to tell me what I need to do different on the podcasting, because I want to put out a better product for people. So, I totally get it. We're not in our 20s anymore.
No.
I know a lot of kids, they can't take that kind of criticism, and that with your age comes a lot more wisdom. But people need to keep in mind, if somebody's telling you to change something, they're trying to change you for the better.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Yeah. On the other hand, I've had people tell me stuff I do is just wrong, and then I'm like, yeah, okay. So I used to take it all with a grain of salt. Somebody says, oh, that's so good. I'm going, right. They're just trying to get on my good side. They say, oh, that I really didn't appreciate like that. I'm glad they're jealous. So,
There's a lot of
cover
jealousy
the
out
holes,
there.
right? And those are my own insecurities, but I recognize them. I understand them. I don't do any of this stuff for somebody's approval. What I'm looking to accomplish is to entertain,
Mm-hmm.
to inform, and hopefully to enlighten. That's it. If I can just entertain, I've done my job. And for me, the best way to do that is to surround myself with those people who can accomplish that. It's like being in these movies. That's a little strange. As a writer, as an actor, as a director, I find it a little strange writing movies for myself. And now I'm going to do, that's just, I don't know. And I've been two of them. Evil, I play Father Bob. Okay, I'm in the Crumbs. I'm not in Demon Fighter, and that was purposeful. I wrote the script around a character like Father Bob, an older guy. And then I just stopped. And I said, oh, no. This isn't going to get it. Nobody wants to see me, some old ass like mine. Come on. So I just rewrote the entire script, took all that type of character out of it, and put in Father Michael. But I needed a balance to Father Michael because of who he was. He's a little younger, a little hostile. I needed somebody who could offset that hostility. And that's where Hank came in, the character Hank. And Robert could probably tell you better because he developed the character. I just wrote it. That doesn't develop the character. That's just writing it. But he can tell you more about Hank than I can.
Tell us about Hank.
Well, Hank is a guy who heard about Father Mike. His friend was having some issues, and Hank isn't necessarily a believer in a lot of this stuff, but he felt strong enough. He noticed a good friend of his was no longer his good friend, and something was taking him away, and Hank couldn't figure out what was going on. And someone had mentioned to Hank about this gentleman that was a priest and could possibly help. So Hank goes and searches him out and finds him actually in an underground little place, not to give away too much, but sees him fighting. And then just says he's impressed with him and tells him about his friend. But he has to get that trust first before Father Mike will come and check things out. Hank had to find a way to say the right things to help Father Mike move along and actually get him to say, okay, I'll come and see your friend, and we'll see what's happening there. But even during the process, I'm still, or Hank is still, I don't know about all this. I don't know. Really? No, come on. But then at some point, Hank buys in, and then they actually become partners in this process of helping Hank's friend.
Okay, I want to get your honest reaction. What was the first thing that pops in your mind when a script like The Crumbs is put in front of you and you read it? I mean, what was your the honest to God reaction that you had in your mind?
Oh my gosh, I got to tell you, it's so out there that my first reaction is like, oh, this is great. This is, I thought this is the kind of story that grabs people, and because from the very beginning, you're like, what is going on here with this family? What is happening? I've got to know. I've got to turn the page. I've got to figure out what's happening. So it was that my first thought was, oh, this is one of those type of films that every once in a while a film will come along, and it's not that it's a big deal or it's anything, but people follow it. A group of people will say, oh, this is great. Oh, I want to see this. Oh, let's see what goes on again with this family. What are the next, 20, 50 years about? That was the feeling that I got when I first read it. I just thought it was awesome. It was just so many different things happening with this family. I don't know how much you've seen or heard about it, but it's just one thing after another. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, wow. That's crazy. What? They're doing this and they do this. They do this and they do this. This is a screwy family.
You didn't get that thought in your head of what in the world have I got myself into?
Oh, I didn't, because I was lucky enough to play the lawman. So, I was the law.
Well, it's kind of sick with scripts, because you read a script and the weirder it is, it's like, you start asking yourself, not, why would I do it, but when can I do it?
When are we going to start this? Yeah.
Yeah, I somehow I don't think people were saying that when they read the script to Howard the Duck, but
Right? Yeah.
Well, anyway, next subject. No, but you've got something like this thrown in front of you, and it's amazing, and you can't wait to get it out there. I know you want to tell the whole world, and there's only so much that you can say. Without revealing too much, can you tell us a little bit about the movie, Robert?
About The Crumbs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just this nice, lovable family that have a bed and breakfast up in the woods, and people come there to visit. People make reservations, as you do at a bed and breakfast, and you go around and you enjoy the environment, because you're up in the mountains, and you go hiking, and you come home and you have a great meal, and it's just the stereotypical bread and breakfast type of experience for those who have made reservations and come there. But if somehow you just come across this place and you haven't made reservations, well, you might find out that might have been a mistake without you really knowing it. So if you get invited to the Crumbs, make sure you make a reservation.
It's not one of those like the Roach Motel, you check in but you don't check out.
Yes, it is like that sometimes. It can be. It can be like that. Yeah. Just so if you've made a reservation, you're good. But if you haven't, things may not look so well for you.
All right, David. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. No, that's fine.
So, David, I'm going to ask you a question,
Sure.
and there's no kind of offense meant behind the question whatsoever.
I'm already offended.
You're already offended? Okay, but I'm going to
I wanted
ask
to be
you.
offended.
I'm going to ask you a serious question because I mean, I know there's a lot of movies out there that kind of mimic other movies and things like that.
Sure.
But in all seriousness, okay, I'm sure you've seen House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects and those kind of movies.
Actually, no.
No?
I don't watch a lot of horror movies, like chop films in particular. Okay, anything with blood and guts, and they're gutting people and chopping heads. That's not my thing. I don't watch those. I will watch supernatural ones, like The Exorcist, Amityville Horror, stuff like that. I'll watch those things because they're more of the supernatural. They're more of, a different energy, if you will. That's, those things. But I as it goes, I never, and I know this might disappoint some people, but I never really dreamed of doing horror films. When Craig and I got together, and I met him, his script had that in it because of this family that he knew of and what was happening to them. But it was all exaggerated. And I was like, that's why I really don't like them. It's like, yeah, all that stuff, So I changed it and I made it more down to, something that could possibly really happen, which is closer to what really did happen. And that is what the movie's about. So, getting back to you're going to ask me a question.
Yes.
You go ahead and ask, but just to preface my answer, I don't, really watch those movies.
Well, the only reason why I bring this up is because people are going to see, okay, here's the Crumbs. This is a story of a family, and I can't say what happens in the home or whatever, but they're going to say, okay, why is this different than the Rob Zombie films, House of a Thousand Corpses?
Let me give you the tagline. It's Dr. Benjamin Crumb.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife, his mother, Irene, their daughter, Victoria, and the groundskeeper, Leonard. They run a bed and breakfast, as Robert's already outlined. Back in the 1850s, Dr. Benjamin discovers a serum that he creates.
Okay.
And that serum creates longevity of life. It doesn't reverse it, but it retards the aging process. All right. And that's the basis of this.
Okay.
Of the thing. Now there's several things that have gone on in history similar to this sick whole process, but the story is really a love story. It's a love horror story. It's a story about a young man and a young woman who are in love, and their family, and how their family tries to help overcome some of her physical maladies that has sustained as a result of her beginnings. And not to give away anything, but that's really what it's about. It's about a family, the Crumbs, and how they survive. So it's a pretty simple telling of a story. But like Robert's already mentioned, you're good to go if you have a reservation with these folks. But if you happen to be a trespasser or just happenstance come upon them, well, you may be subject to some of the doctor's experiments for what he's doing. So, yeah. And we shot it in Placerville, California, Hangtown, and a unique place. And if somebody was to compare it, that's okay, because every story that can be told has been told. Understand that. I firmly believe this. It's not a matter of whether the story has been told or retold. It's a matter of, are the circumstances and the characters fresh?
That's true.
Wow.
Well, the reason why I asked the question is anybody that's watching this or listening to this, if that question was to pop up, then we want that distinction to be made so they know, hey, this is a whole different type of film. This is why you need to watch it. because you know, I love your body of work. It's awesome, and I want other people to enjoy it as well. And I for one can't wait until these movies are out so I can watch them. Especially
Okay.
since I know you guys and I know everybody behind the scenes and in front of the camera. So, you know, it makes it that much more exciting for me, and I want people that watch this to get the same kind of excitement that I get.
Well, thanks. Well, we try to create a uniqueness in it, and we think that Crumbs is a very unique family. We think that you're not going to find, hopefully, a family like them, like Demon Fighter, the priest, Father Michael. He's a kung fu martial artist. He's a master. I don't think you're going to find very many priests like him, who is not too many. So we try to create characters that can bridge genres, if you will. Okay, so how does a love story work into a horror film?
Hmm.
You know, they did that with The Bride of Frankenstein, right? Okay, way back when. You know, how do you bridge those stories? How do you put together, you know, the little old place? What is it? The good folks at Red Wolf Inn. I don't know if you recall. That's an old horror movie from the late '60s, and they were taking people and butchering them up, guests. And what was on, for example, they took Susan Lamb, they kidnapped her, and they butchered her up. And so, what was on the menu the next day? Leg of lamb. Seemed to work out.
Good one. That was what my wife would call a dad joke.
Dad joke. Bad, very bad.
And I am very good at dad jokes.
But so, you know, you get the same story is always being told. It's a matter of fresh circumstances, you know, fresh characters. We think the characters uh, bring it. Robert's portrayal of Sheriff Martin, Jeff uh, Hatch, his Dr. Benjamin, Irene, Unreal, Maria Olson, the Queen of Terror out there, right? 100 plus credits to her name there. She plays it to a T. And of course, Chelsea Yerkowitz and Anton Clark, a new actor on the circuit. He's a wonderful actor. You're going to love his performance. He brings it. And that to me is what separates this film from a lot of other movies. The characters and the ability of these actors to really bring these characters to life. That's it. The story, the plot has a neat twist to it I won't tell you about, but you know, the plot's the same. Who killed my person I'm looking for and why did you do it? You know, that story's been told a million times.
Who shot
How
JR?
Yeah, how many vampire movies are out there? And we know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to get their blood sucked out of them.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
So there it is. But we feel confident with it, and especially like I said, the characters that we bring, the contrast between Hank and Father Michael. It's just a great contrast, and we needed it. We needed it, so it works well.
Before we end everything, I would like for y'all to let us know how we can find you and you know, any like websites, any other things you can point us to get to know y'all's work and a little bit more about yourselves.
You can find us on any of the social media websites, Facebook, all the other ones, at CRA Entertainment, or you can look up Craig Ahrens, Ahrens, or myself, David Espinosa, or Robert Crow. You can go to IMDb and see us. You can go to Amazon Prime, see our film, The Evil Down the Street, there, or on UBTV, or also on IMDb TV. We were chosen specifically by our distributor as one of their top rated films to be presented on IMDb TV, which is an international broadcasting platform. So we're very, very pleased about that. Yeah, you could search us out easy, find out who we are, what we're doing. You can look up the films. You can look up the Crumbs. You can look up The Evil Down the Street and get to us that way. You can also, if there's anybody out there who is interested, we have a little contest going on. The lead actress, Elena Gerard, has 8x10 autographed photos of herself from The Evil Down the Street. If you are whatever number caller that Kyle determines, that person with the correct answer, and the question is, how many drops of blood are in the apple cutting scene at the sink? Call in with the right answer and whatever number that Kyle picks, and we will personally, or I won't, but Elena will personally send you an autographed photograph of herself. Okay.
And Robert's
So
going
that's
to
how to
answer
reach us.
correctly.
As long as it's answered correctly. That's right. 5, 4, 6, 7.
I hear you.
Put them all out there. There you go. Anyway, but that's how you can reach us. And Robert, if you have other contact information.
No, I'm with CRA Entertainment, so that's the best way to get through to me.
There you go.
Gotcha. Well, everybody that's been watching, thank you so much. And we appreciate David and Robert spending their day with us today. And you don't know how much it means to me to have you guys on here. And so until the next show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Peace.
Kyle. Really good to meet you. Thanks for having us on.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network and on Instagram at The Vibes Broadcast.